You're denying that racism is a problem.
I've never denied that racism is a problem. And if you listen to the response I gave to that black pastor, my whole point is racism has been a major problem for most of our national history. But we're getting close to the promised land that Martin Luther King envisioned. We're as darn close to it as we ever have been. And so what bothers the heck out of me is it's right when we're close to that promised land. Martin Luther King said it, I may not get there with you, and he didn't get there with us. But I think it desecrates the legacy of our civil rights movement.
Welcome to American Perfectionist, where we dissect the intricate tapestry of political landscapes with a magnifying glass of scrutiny. Subscribe, hit that like button, and let's embark on this intellectual exploration together. Let's dive into the heart of the matter of today's video. Vivek Ramaswamy humiliates race baiting NBC journalist live on TV. Alrighty, let's dive headfirst into this, folks and fabulous individuals. Guess who's still dishing out the verbal smackdowns? It's none other than Vivek Ramaswamy, and let me tell you, the recipients are lapping it up like it's the hottest gossip in town. I'm sitting here wondering why on earth they keep poking the bear when they know they're in for a verbal whooping. It's like watching a never-ending saga of challenge-accepted moments. Can we also talk about the hilarity of the situation? Ramaswamy, being the proud brown person that he is, throwing down truths about black and brown bodies, and yet they're out here acting like he's some secret agent for the other side. I mean, come on. The man is just sharing his perspective on behalf of brown folks, and yet, instead of a nod of agreement, it's like they're checking if he's suddenly turned into a white man. Spoiler alert, he hasn't. It's like, imagine if he wore a Democrat badge, they'd probably be hanging on to his every word like it's the gospel truth. But oh no, he's a Republican, so suddenly they're treating him like he's the odd one out at a costume party. It's almost comical how his words about minorities get the discount bin treatment, as if he's not a card-carrying member of the minority club. Now grab your popcorn, folks, because we've got a front row seat to this verbal roller coaster. Let's roll that clip and enjoy the spectacle of this epic whooping.
Let's talk about white supremacy and what happened last night for a moment, because when you were talking to reporters last night, you called white supremacy a myth. When someone asked you about Dylan Roof, you said you didn't know who that is.
So, the whole white supremacy thing. Total hogwash, my friend. I mean, really, where do they come up with this stuff? It's like they're cooking up a batch of conspiracy theory stew to divide us. Like, hey, let's sprinkle in some white supremacy nonsense and see what happens. But guess what? It's a myth, a grand illusion like Bigfoot or that elusive perfect hair day. I don't know what they mean by white supremacy. Like, are we talking about some secret society of albino ninjas secretly running the show? Because honestly, I'd pay to see that movie. But in reality, there's nada, zilch, zero evidence that America has a secret white people club where they get exclusive benefits. It's just a wild goose chase, my friend. And seriously, can we talk about The Rock for a moment? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is like the human embodiment of charisma. He's not just popular, he's practically the mayor of Popularityville. And if white supremacy were a thing, I'm pretty sure The Rock wouldn't be the poster child for it. I mean, can you imagine him leading a secret society meeting? It'd be more like a rock concert, literally. And let's not forget the dynamic duo Michelle and Barack Obama, two of the most well-known folks in the US, and guess what? They're not exactly rocking the ivory tower. Nope, they're breaking glass ceilings and shaking things up. So what's this talk about white supremacy when we've got these awesome black powerhouses stealing the spotlight? In conclusion, my friend, the idea of white supremacy is about as real as a unicorn riding a rainbow. So let's all take a chill pill, enjoy the diversity around us, and maybe have a good laugh at the absurdity of it all. After all, laughter is the best medicine, even for mythical conspiracies.
Have you looked up what happened in 2015?
Yeah, look, I said this last night. Invidious racial discrimination is wrong no matter how it happens. But if a Washington Post reporter is asking me almost like a catechism, whatever question I said, I'm against invidious racial discrimination, whatever form it takes, but says, do you denounce white supremacy? It's incumbent on us for us to define what white supremacy is. I wrote my book, Woke Inc., and I've written about the detailed understanding of what the popular understanding of these terms have come to mean. Do you believe punctuality is a vestige of white supremacy, Dasha?
Look,
because if you don't, then you have a disagreement about many of the people who are defining those terms, or the written word, or the use, or the nuclear family. These aren't my words. These are the words of intellectual proponents from Ibram Kendi to the Ayanna Presleys to BLM that have said these are vestiges of white supremacy.
So this guy dropped a bomb of wisdom, and I was like, hold up, let me untangle myself from this verbal spaghetti. Instead of just nodding along to the anti-white supremacy vibes, he threw in a plot twist. Picture this, yeah, obviously I'm against white supremacy, and then he hits me with, But wait, there's more. His genius move was pointing out the danger of throwing the anti-white supremacy card around like confetti. You say you're against it, and suddenly everything you do is painted with that brush. It's like saying you hate pineapple pizza, and then people start claiming you're anti-tomato sauce or against oregano. Dude's arguing that the label gets slapped on everything, creating this bizarre guilt by association game. He dives into the absurdity, highlighting scenarios where the anti-white supremacy declaration goes haywire. According to him, if a black guy hits the gym, he's apparently pumping iron under the banner of white supremacy. Straight A's in school? Yup, that's not just good grades. It's a secret handshake to the white supremacy club. Oh, and don't get him started on interracial love. If a black dude dates a white woman, apparently, it's a strategic move in the grand chessboard of white supremacy. And oh boy, leaving your money to your white significant other. Congrats, you're the puppet master of white supremacy. He takes it up a notch by dropping some Omar Johnson wisdom, claiming that even black people committing more crimes is somehow part of the grand white supremacy narrative. It's like saying, hey, Your Honor, it's not me. It's the white supremacy in the air making me do it. Then there's the cherry on top, redlining and lending issues. According to him, if banks don't hand out loans to unqualified black folks, it's called redlining. But wait, the solution. Just give every black person a loan, even if they're as qualified as a fish riding a bicycle. Label it predatory lending, stir the pot, and voila, everything's white supremacy's fault. So there you have it, a comedy of errors where everything from hitting the gym to acing exams is apparently a covert operation in the world of white supremacy. I'm just here wondering when ordering pineapple pizza became a criminal offense.
So
Mr.
we
Ramaswamy,
can't have it both
this
ways.
is what you do, though.
We have to have
You
an honest
you
discussion.
Straw man arguments.
This is not a straw man.
You
This is
brought
not
up
a straw
Jussie
man.
Smollett as the best
Jussie
example
Smollett
of white
was the hottest thing in
supremacy.
news in the back of a fake actual attack on him that we have to contend with.
And yet you have examples like the Buffalo shooter in New York just in 2022.
You have other examples.
But you are also cherry picking when you bring up Jussie Smollett.
I'll look at all of the statistics. More black on black crime. If you really care about actual crime against black Americans, let's get to the root causes of it in the inner cities of this country.
The Anti-Defamation League tracked a 38% increase in white supremacist propaganda last year.
All right, buckle up for this wild ride through the realm of a 38% surge in white supremacist propaganda. It's like a pop quiz in a circus, and we're trying to figure out what's real and what's just a bunch of clowns messing around. So, you've got this 38% increase in white supremacist propaganda, and it's got us all scratching our heads going, what the heck is white supremacist propaganda, and how do you even track that stuff? It's like trying to catch fireflies in the dark with chopsticks, tricky business. And then there's this whole compartmentalized thing. It's like telling your brain, hey, just take a quick detour to the white supremacist propaganda section, and let's figure out what's what. It's like trying to organize a messy closet, but with more hate-filled brochures involved. Now, the real brain buster is distinguishing trolls from authentic white supremacist propaganda. It's like trying to tell if that annoying YouTube comment is from a genuine hater or just someone who accidentally glued their keyboard's caps lock key. Picture Sherlock Holmes with a magnifying glass, but instead of solving crimes, he's sifting through internet garbage. And let's talk about hate crimes. They're like the drama queens of criminal activities. Anyone can report them, and suddenly you've got the police doing investigative acrobatics. If your neighbor spray paints your house, and you're the only rainbow in a sea of beige, you might think it's a hate crime. It's like playing Clue, but with bias instead of candlesticks. But here's the kicker, Jussie Smollett. Remember when he claimed he got beat up by white dudes in MAGA hats? It was like a hate crime plot twist straight out of a poorly written soap opera. They had to investigate it as a hate crime, and turns out it was all a big fat lie. It's like telling the police you lost your car keys, and then they find them in your pocket. Embarrassing. So, in this tangled web of statistics and investigations, you end up with a spike in reported hate crimes, even if they're as real as a unicorn riding a skateboard. It's like statistical inflation, making the numbers look beefier than they actually are. In the end, it's a comedy of errors in the world of hate crime reporting. Just remember, folks, when dealing with white supremacist propaganda statistics, approach it with skepticism and a sprinkle of humor. After all, laughter is the best medicine, especially when trying to navigate the circus of statistical chaos.
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, the ADL, I don't think is a particularly credible source when they have cherry-picked information.
When we're talking about
I would suggest look at there's a table, 2x2 table federal law enforcement data, which you could say what you do. Maybe we shouldn't believe that either. But
okay,
look at black on Asian crime, black on black crime,
the FBI
white on
hate
black
crime statistics. That's a law enforcement agency.
Vivek was trying to lay down some FBI stats on race-related crime. But just as he was revving up his statistical engine, she slammed the brakes with a full-on interruption. Classic move, right? Now, the gist of his spiel, post-interruption drama, was all about how black folks seemed to be in a real rivalry with white folks in the murder game. According to the FBI's scorecard, black people are clocking in twice as many points in the killing white people category compared to the other way around. Cue the awkward pause. It's like a twisted game of Murder Olympics, and spoiler alert, the black team is winning this particular event. So there's this chart dancing in his head, circa 200-something, where 200 white folks decided to take out some black folks, and on the flip side, over 400 black folks decided it's curtains for white folks. Hold up before you think he slipped into the twilight zone. Those 400 represent the black-on-white murder victims. In simpler terms, 200 black victims courtesy of white perpetrators and 400 white victims at the hands of black perpetrators. It's a statistical spin cycle, folks. Now, here's where it gets all philosophical, questioning why we're all hyped about white supremacy being the ultimate villain when, statistically speaking, black folks seem to be playing the antagonist role in the murder mystery plot. The real plot twist: despite being a minority, black folks are dishing out more lethal plot twists to their own community, scoring a whopping 96% on the black-on-black murder ratio. What's the punchline here? It's like a crime comedy skit, the unexpected twist leaving you scratching your head and saying, what are we even saying here?
59.1% was based on race, ethnicity, and ancestry, saying hate crimes rose 12% between 2020 and 2021.
Look at the absolute crimes themselves. What they classify as a hate crime is itself a political judgment. I think that when you actually care about protecting life, if you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost. It's in the cities, at the heart of other black Americans and criminals that are restrained by the absence
that we talk about as well. But are we supposed to ignore white supremacist hate crimes?
We're not supposed to ignore any kind of crime, Dasha. That's what I say. But what I see is a selective reporting. Take the Nashville transgender shooter manifesto. Every shooter manifesto in a mass shooting has been released within 48 hours, except for that one shooter in Nashville. Now, it ended up being leaked. What do you see? It wasn't a white supremacist. It was somebody that was actually making fun of using derogatory terms. I believe.
Okay, so why are you okay talking about that manifesto and not talking about the manifesto from the 2015?
I'm more than okay talking about both, but what I'm asking is, why is the mainstream media suppress that one? Why did the police suppress that one? Why was that the one shooter manifesto that of all of the mass shootings, every other shooter manifesto has been released? I'm focused on that one because that's the one that's been hidden from us. And it comes back to the point of my candidacy and the way I'm going to run this country. Trust the people with the truth. If it doesn't match your narrative,
the reality is right now,
I think the media did not hold the police accountable. They would have been demanding that.
Starting to gain traction with the black community, with Latino voters. Do not worry that your rhetoric is pushing them away. There are folks
to the contrary. I think we're going to bring black people into this movement
who are concerned about your rhetoric.
Well, you know what? I'm concerned about their corruption. If you had somebody who actually one of the most prominent black influencer the other day, what did she say? I've been black my whole life, and this man could actually unify this country, in response to a long exchange I had with a black pastor who had an event here in Iowa, did challenge me with a hard question, asking me, are my views against affirmative action, how do those align with historical racial injustice?
Affirmative action is a debate that is being had.
If I may just finish this. If I may finish my point,
Dasha.
With racism, I think I will be better positioned.
But you're denying that racism is a problem.
I've never denied that racism is a problem. And if you listen to the response I gave to that black pastor, my whole point is racism has been a major problem for most of our national history. But we're getting close to the promised land that Martin Luther King envisioned. We're as darn close to it as we ever have been. And so what bothers the heck out of me is it's right when we're close to that promised land. Martin Luther King said it, I may not get there with you, and he didn't get there with us. But I think it desecrates the legacy of our civil rights movement, desecrates the legacy of Martin Luther King, that right when we get closest to the point of having racial equality and gender equality and even opportunities for people of minorities of many types, are we perfect? No. But are we as close as we've ever been? Yes, we have. To then obsess over systemic racism, to then obsess over white guilt and otherwise, we're creating new waves of racism, Dasha, that we otherwise would have avoided right when we're closest to having achieved what even the proponents of the civil rights movement would have dreamed of. That's what bothers me. My exchange with that black pastor about a week or so ago, right here in Iowa, not far from where we are, it was in Indianola, not far from where we are in Des Moines, was that we're founded on the pursuit of a more perfect union. the pursuit of liberty, equality, and justice for all. And I reject this left-wing narrative that's creating more artificial division. So I believe I will bring more Black and Hispanic voters into our movement, not by saying fake poll-tested slogans, but by speaking the hard truth that we've been imperfect in our past, but let us celebrate the progress we've made and reject the media's cherry-picking narratives to actually get to the truth of the matter. And now if we care about Black lives, the things we're going to do isn't obsessing about white supremacy. It's actually fixing the problems in our cities, which I will do as our president.
You know what? I'm on the same wavelength as this dude. It's like these folks are living in La La Land, but not the fun musical kind, more like a fallacy-filled fantasy realm. They're out here thinking supremacy is as real as a unicorn, with zero evidence to back it up. It's like they're on a wild goose chase for the Loch Ness monster of social issues. And then there's this guy dropping truth bombs, and I'm just nodding along like, preach, brother. His rhetoric ain't turning me off. It's just turning off the dim bulbs in the room. Legit folks are like, yeah, that makes sense, but maybe tone it down a bit. It's like saying, I dig your message, but the delivery's a bit extra, my dude. But here's the kicker. These virtue-signaling white liberals are like the comic relief in a bad movie, except it's real life. Black folks aren't falling for it. They're not dumb. They can handle basic stuff like getting IDs. Like seriously, who do they think they are? They're just making up stories to try and split us into factions. Anyway, big shout out to Vivek Ramaswamy. That dude's got my vote. He's out there, cutting through the nonsense like a ninja with a truth sword. I'm all in for supporting someone who's bringing a dose of reality and humor to this crazy circus. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here, perfectionists. It continues with each like, comment, and share. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep the dialogue alive. Until next time, this is American Perfectionist signing off, because the world is a stage, and we're all players in the grand political drama. Remember, the quest for a more perfect union never ends. Keep striving, keep questioning, and let's continue this journey towards a better America together. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always aim for perfection.